Once Dante and Virgil reached the top of Purgatory, they finally parted ways. And Beatrice, just like as promised, takes over as Dante's guide in his journey through Paradiso. Perhaps you are asking, why must Beatrice replace Virgil? That is because Virgil lived his life according to human reason, a thought that is based on logic alone, meaning he didn't believe that God exists throughout his mortal life. Hence, he cannot enter heaven, whilst Beatrice symbolizes a divine love and reason that is needed for salvation. This is why she is the one who accompanied Dante through the 9 spheres of Paradiso, where he met blessed souls, even God himself.
First sphere. The first sphere, also called the sphere of the moon or simply called moon, is for the souls that haven't been able to fulfill their vows, usually when it comes to a promise to God. Beatrice explains that a vow is a pact drawn between a man and God, in which a person freely offers up his free will as a gift to God. Vows should therefore not be taken lightly and should be kept once given, unless keeping the vow would be a greater evil. When they are visiting, Beatrice and Dante met Picarda Donati, who is the sister of Dante's friend Foresta Donati, and who explains why the souls kept here are so happy with their place in heaven. Beatrice also quizzes him on the reason for the moon spots and explains how the waxing and waning of the moon are associated with inconsistency. As such, the moon houses souls whose word could not be trusted and were lacking in courage. The pair also meets Constance of Sicily, who was removed from her convent against her will and forced to marry Henry VI. Their visit concludes with Beatrice's avowal of the sacredness of keeping one's vows and the importance of free will.
In the second sphere of heaven, or Mercury, Dante and his guide Beatrice meet the souls of those who were just and righteous during their earthly lives but were primarily driven by ambition. The poet speaks to the Byzantine Emperor Justinian, who tells him the history of the Roman Empire, speaking among other things about Julius Caesar, Augustus, Jesus' crucifixion, and the destruction of Jerusalem. Before moving forward, Dante and Beatrice discuss the original sin and redemption, as well as the controversial idea of the responsibility of the Jews for Jesus' death. The second sphere of heaven, or the sphere of Mercury, is for those that were right in Jupiter's hope to do so as a part of their ambition. It is for those who carve a niche for themselves, receive mighty faith, and put altruism and philanthropy before themselves, just to put on a philanthropic facade.
The third sphere of heaven, or Venus, is home to the souls of lovers who earn their place in heaven with their love for God and humanity. There, Dante wonders about the unfortunate offspring of good people and the young prince of Anjou. Here, Dante met the young prince Charles Martel of Anjou. Charles Martel tries to satiate him by reasoning that the world thrives in diversity, such as lawyers, politicians, etc., for which the cosmic energy also requires an assortment of the bad people along with the good ones to maintain the balance. He is also confronted with Canisido Romano and reminisces the time he had met his brother in the seventh circle of hell, which catapults us back to what Martel bespoke about diversity. Here, Dante also met Folco of Marseille. Folco claims that Dante's hometown, Florence, was found by Lucifer. Because of that, the good priests turned into greedy ones, and the church no longer studies the gospel, but only it decrees. But don't worry, Folco says while grinning, Florence will soon be rid of those corrupt priests.
Fourth sphere. The fourth sphere of heaven is for those wise and intellectual people who sought to educate the hearts and minds of others. Upon reaching this sphere, Dante and Beatrice were stunned by the spectacle of the enshrouding crown of Saint Thomas Aquinas and other 11 souls of the wise men, Albertus Magnus, Gratian, Peter Lombard, King Solomon, Boethius inter alia, some of whom were theologians, kings, or philosophers. St. Thomas takes a detour from the dance to recount the story of St. Francis of Assisi to the inquisitive duo. Another cluster of 12 bright light dances in front of them, singing the Trinity, led by St. Bonaventure, who later recounts the life of St. Dominic. Symbolically speaking, the sun is believed to be a mighty star, illuminating the earth as well as the outer space. Thus, these men residing in the sphere of heaven are believed to be those akin to the sun, who shed light intellectually.
In the fifth sphere of heaven or Mars, we can visibly notice millions of sparks of light, which forms a Greek cross. These are the souls of the warriors who gave their lives for God, thereby displaying the virtue of fortitude. Planet Mars is traditionally associated with the god of war, and so Dante makes this planet the home of the warriors of the faith, and compares the cross to the Milky Way. One of the souls approaches like a meteor and reveals himself to be Dante's great-great-grandfather, who died during the Second Crusade. He correctly predicts Dante's exile from the city-state. He also said Dante's destiny and told him to write nothing but the truth, because this will be nutritious for mankind for centuries to come. Holy warriors who appears in this sphere also include Joshua, Roland, Charlemagne, Judas Maccabeus, Robert Guiscard, and others.
The sixth sphere is inhabited by just rulers. In there, an eagle who has the voice of all the souls combined, talking like one, but shadowing the voices of all the inhabitants of the sixth sphere. They cite out, Diligite justitiam, qui judicatis terram, which translates to, cherish justice, you who judge the earth. As many form the eagle, seen there are King David, Hezekiah, Constantine, Trajan, Cecilius William II, and a pagan man that goes by the name Ripheus, who is saved by God for his righteousness.
Seventh sphere, sphere of heaven or Saturn. The sphere of Saturn is the contemplatives, who embody temperance. Dante encounters the spirits of people who dedicated their lives to prayer, climbing up and down a golden ladder. In this sphere, the poet speaks to St. Peter Damian, who points out the corruption of the church. But he also meets St. Benedict, who is infuriated with the church moral decline as well. St. Benedictine also tells Dante that the golden ladder is reaching up to the very Imperium and explains the ladder's nature. Beatrice, who represents theology, becomes increasingly lovely here, indicating the contemplatives' closer insight in the truth of God.
Together with this guide Beatrice, they enter the eighth heaven, also known as the Big Stars. It is located right above the constellation of Gemini, which coincidentally is the same star sign as of Dante. In here located such as Virgin Mary, James, Peter, John, and other apostles. The apostles tested Dante on the three theological bodies, Peter on faith, James on hope, and John with love, which Dante answered smoothly. Dante and Beatrice also witness how impurity St. Peter reads the structure of the papacy, most especially on the Pope Roman Catholic. Then he met Adam, the first man created. Adam vocalized four questions Dante has in mind. These questions were as follows: how old is he? How long he was allowed to enjoy Eden?
The truth behind God's anger, and the language Adam and Eve using during the old times. He answered the third question first. According to him, God was not angry at them for eating the forbidden fruit, but rather because they overstepped the boundary God has set for them. He then proceeded to answer the first question. He said that he spent 930 years on earth, 4,302 years in limbo, and passed another 1,266 years in heaven, making him 6,948 years old. He also said that his language was gone and that he was allowed to live in Eden for 7 years, but some sources said otherwise, even claim it to last for only 6 to 7 hours. After meeting the saints, apostles, and Adam, they ascended to the ninth heaven.
Ninth sphere. The primum mobile, or first moving sphere, is the last sphere of the physical universe. It is moved directly by God, and its motion causes all the spheres sitting closest to move. The primum mobile is the abode of angels, and here, Dante sees God as an intensely bright point of light surrounded by 9 rings of angels. Beatrice explains the discrepancy between it and the material universe. Beatrice tells Dante the creation story, explains the order of the universe, and clears up the question about the number of extant angels.
The Imperium is the abode of God, the place in the highest heaven. Dante, from primum mobile, ascends to this region beyond physical existence. Beatrice, representing theology, is here transforming to be more beautiful than ever before. Dante, on the other hand, was enveloped in light, rendering him fit to see God. From there, he saw an enormous rose which symbolizes divine love. The petals are enthroned souls of the faithful, and all the souls that Dante had met in heaven have their home on these petals. Around the rose, angels fly like bees distributing peace and love. Then, Beatrice returned to her place in the rose, a sign that Dante had finally elapsed beyond theology in directly contemplating God. As a mystical contemplative, Saint Bernard led Dante further, describing the heavenly rose and its occupants. On behalf of Dante, Saint Bernard narrates the predestination and praise to the Virgin Mary. Eventually, Dante comes face to face with God himself. God appears as 3 equally large circles occupying the same space, presenting the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Within these circles, Dante can distinguish the human form of Christ.